Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com. You probably noticed that I now have a new intro to my videos. There's actually going to be an outro now too, so stick around for the end of the video to catch the outro. But yeah, last night I was really tired, and towards the end of the video I noticed, well, I noticed it this morning, that we were working on this function, order by, yet I was thinking sort by, so I could not get the function to work. Now it works. So the issue was that it's order by, not sort by. So order by allows you to name the collection. And again, we're continuing from the collection section of the Lodash functions. And basically, so I want to order this object array, and I want to order it by name first, and then age by descending order. So now I successfully get Bob to be in the first spot, because Bob is sort of reverse order name-wise and also reverse order age-wise. So it kind of works out that way. I wonder if I change this to ascending, does it then reverse it back? So let's try that out. Oh, save. Nope, I think it prioritizes name, and then I think that means if first it prioritizes by name, and then if they had the same name, then it would use age. And let me just test that out. So let's add another Bob. Control C. Let's add a younger Bob, 30. So in that case it should be, and let me put the younger Bob before the older Bob. So if it doesn't reverse order by age, so in this first situation the 30 should, so the way I have it now with descending ascending, the 30 should come before the 50. Yep. But if I change this to descending, now the 50 should come before the 30. So let's try that out. Yes, so that's how that works. Very good. Very good. That's actually pretty cool. That is a good function. So that's order by, next is partition. Creates an array of elements split into two groups. The first, which contains elements, the element's predicate returns truthy, or the second of which contains elements predicate. Okay, so this just splits into true or false. So let's just take a look at it. Barney, Fred. So you can kind of do this with group by kind of using it as a filter. But except this just kind of does that right off the bat. So let's see here. Let's take a look at an example. Return active. So basically, if I did this, okay, partition, we'll keep the object array, and then we'll just say value, so we're passing in a callback. So this is kind of like, again, this is like one of those higher order functions where I can just pass in a callback, like one of the array functions where I can pass in one that says true or false. So I'm going to say, hey, value, whether value dot name equals Bob. So it should give me an array with both Bobs and an array with me. That should be what I return. I think it's going to be within one array, so it's an array of arrays. Okay, yeah. So that's what I did. So here's an array. It gave me an array with both Bobs and then array with me because I would be false for that check. So I mean, I could do the same thing with group by. Only difference is that it'll actually, instead it'll create an object where there'll be a key of true and a key of false, and the Bob array will be in the key of false. See? Cool. So that's neat. I can see the use for both of those because one creates an array, one doesn't. Wait, let's go back. How did I get back on there? I want to be on Lodash. Okay. So let's see here. So that's partition. Then there's reduce. I'm assuming this is going to be the same as the reduce that's built in the JavaScript already. Okie dokie. So let's just kind of go through how reduce works in the first place in JavaScript. Again, the reason why you would want to use reduce with Lodash is if you're using it on an object or a string. But although you should be able to just use it on a string as well. But let's talk about it. because this one's always a tricky one. I always get the order of the parameters wrong. So the JavaScript standard way would be like my R dot, well actually this, my R dot reduce. Okay. And let me see if I can remember right. Okay, we're gonna have it's always like this, 3 parameters. Can't be too different than this version of here. Okay, the result, the value, the key. Yeah, it's not the same as these same arguments. So let's just see here, array.reduce. I always have to look this one up. So for some reason this one just never sticks. Like I know what it does, just accumulator current value. Should be a third argument. Callback. Accumulator current value. Oh, I see. Okay. So reducer and the current value. Array.reduce. So this is the reducer. Okay, and it starts at 5. Okay. Cool. So basically, first argument is the callback. So basically, the first one is, we'll say ACK for the accumulator. That's going to be the basically it's a variable that runs a tally. So basically that variable builds up for each run of the loop. Okay, and the current value. And this is going to start. Let me see that again. I did this the other day just fine. Reducer 5. Where's the reducer? Here we go. Accumulator plus current value. Oh, okay, I get it. Okay, current value is the current iterating value. So ACK versus val. Okay, and then what we're going to do, and we'll actually just use that same example, ACK plus value. So what this is going to do is going to go through, and we'll just return this. Basically what happens is that the returned value ends up becoming the new value for the accumulator. So I'm going to return the accumulator plus value, and then that becomes the value of the accumulator for the next go around the next value. And we're going to say that the accumulator, so we put in another argument, we'll say it starts at 0. That's the original value. So now if I do that, what it should return is the basically the sum of my array, which is that 19. Makes sense. So let's do the math. 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 4 is 7, plus 5 is 12, plus 7 is 19. So yep, that's what it did. Okay. So that's how reduce works now that it's built into JavaScript. Now this Lodash one, let's go back to the documentation. Result value key. Let's just take a look here. This could be the function. This is the collection. Okay, so basically it's the same thing. The only difference is that I have to pass in the collection first. So it would be my R, then the callback, and then the initial value. So if I save that, then run this, 19, same thing. Cool. So that's reduce. So again, if you're trying to accumulate a number by iterating over an array, it reduces your friend. Reduce right, that's just going to start from right to left. That's generally how those go. Reject. Okay, this is one I've been waiting to get to. This is the opposite of the filter function. So instead of returning an array of the things where true is returned, it returns you an array of the ones that are false. Okay, so this one I know off the bat. So this just works like this. This one should be built into JavaScript. That's kind of what kickstarted this whole Lodash thing. I heard about this function, thinking, why did I never hear about this? And then I tried it on an array and realized, oh, it's not actually built into JavaScript. It's part of this library. Why it isn't, I mean, I'm sure you can just replicate it simple enough, but if they added filter, why not add reject? It just seems like a useful one. Because sometimes There's just something you want to take out, not just something you want to keep. So in this case, what I want to do is I just want to get rid of those zeros in my R. Okay, so what I would do is go Lodash dot reject, and then I pass in my R as the array I want to do this on, and then I pass in a callback value. And like filter, it's a test, so it's supposed to return a value. So it's just going to return. I'm not going to put a curly bracket, so that way it's an implicit return. And I'm going to write whether the value equals 0. Okay, so what that will do is that if it's 0, it will just take it out of the array, and if it's not, it keeps it. Okay, so I should just get the array without the zeros. Cool. And we had a few ways of doing this throughout all of. I think we could have done this with pull. There's a couple other functions in Lodash you could do this with, but as far as I'm aware, there's no sort of straightforward callback function right now that allows you to do this in JavaScript. Okay, and this is probably one of my I could use this all the time. So that's why I'm just surprised that that one wasn't adapted. Sample gets a random element from the collection. Okay, that's interesting. I can totally understand how they probably put that together. So let's see here. So this is just random sample. Okay, it would just probably be my R. So just that's the only argument. So it gives me a sample element from my array. So we'll run this a few times. 0, 7. Oh, very likely there we go. I mean, I can definitely see how it basically would run a random number function based on the length of the array, and then use that result as the index, and now you have a random item from the array. But at least now I didn't have to type all that out. Neat. Okay, sample size. It's n random elements at unique keys from collection up to the size of the collection. Okay, so it's like the same idea except you're getting more than one. So if I say 2 sample size, it's going to give me 2 random elements from the array, and they're going to be unique, or unique indexes. So in this case, it's possible to get both zeros because they're at different indexes. 2 0, 0 4, 2. Neat. I like it. Shuffle. I'm assuming this will just reorder the array randomly. Creates a array of shuffle values using a version of the Fisher-Yates shuffle, the collection to shuffle. Okay, that sounds straightforward enough. Now this would be useful. I remember once I had the program like an array of cards. So basically, you had to create an object that represented a card with a suit and number, and then you would have a function that would generate all the objects of each card. So you have a separate deck object that would have then an array of all these cards. This could be an easy way to shuffle that deck of cards. That's neat. Save. So say you're just gonna get random orders every time. Not a bad deal. Size collection gets the size of collection by returning its length for array-like values and the number of own numeral string key properties for objects. Okay, that could be useful for objects because there isn't a length property for objects, but basically just gives you the size. So I'm not gonna spend too much time on that. Sum, I'm assuming this is gonna work like sum does natively in JavaScript. Yep. Okay, so let's just go over it. So sum is sort of the opposite of every. Okay, so if I were to do my r.sum, instead of seeing if everything passes the test, it only checks if at least one element in the array passes the test. So maybe, let's say there's a band of heroes, and at least if one of them's heart is true, they can pass on into the next level. Then I would use sum. But if every hero's heart needs to be pure to cross the threshold, then I would use every. But here's an example. So value, so I pass in this function, value, and we're going to say value is equal to 0. Okay, so long as one of them is 0, this is going to return true. It doesn't have to be all of them. And if I use 7, none of them are 7. Actually, one of them is 7, so let's use, what do I have in there? 6 is what I meant to use. There's none of them are 6. So that should return me false, because none of them are 6. So I'm assuming, for the purposes of Lodash, it's just going to be this. Same thing, except we pass in the collection first. Okay. And again, the great thing about the Lodash versions is you can use them on objects and on strings. Okay, cool. So moving on, so that's some sort by. Oh, and then we're now done with the collection functions. Sort by, which we already kind of discussed. Creates an array of elements sorted in ascending order by results of running each element. Through each array, the method performs a stable sort that then preserves. So let's see here. Okay, so this one you don't get to choose ascending or descending. It's always going to sort ascending. So that was the issue I was having yesterday. Sort by my R. Let's sort by age first. So that means Bob, age 30, should end up going first. And then by name, which won't matter because there won't be any collisions on age, but we can still do that. The only difference is that sort by, it's always going to be ascending. Never, I can't change it to descending like I did with order by. Okay. Oh, that's my R. I want to do object array. Save. There you go. See it. Bob, age 30 goes first because we're sorting by age first. And then that's that. There's no collisions. So, okay. So that's all the collection functions in Lodash. Let me see where we're at now. Okay, we're like we're still not even halfway through all the functions in Lodash. So we're gonna keep going, but I'll do that in the next video. So I'll see you guys there. Ciao.